Hello, my name is Edgar Luna, and today I want to share my presentation with you about trauma and crisis intervention. I am from Mexico City, and I am also studying the MDiv right now. I am a youth pastor in the Spanish church here in Berrien Springs, and today I'm very happy to share this topic that I have been researching and learning. So let's start with the presentation that I want to share with you. So for today's topic, I want to talk about religious trauma. This is an interesting topic that I have been learning because as a youth pastor, I have learned that this is a serious issue that we need to acknowledge and also we need to work on. And to begin with this topic, I just want to share a couple of interesting statistics that the Adventist Research Institute put together for the last general conference in 2021. So basically, they came up with the numbers of how many members do we have in that time, right? So by that time, we have 41,225,021 members. But they share an interesting information. Basically, of this number, 16,804,656 people have left the church, meaning that from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people, four are leaving the church. And these numbers are an alarming numbers because in the church, we're talking that, oh, we need to do something about it, right? But I have found like most interesting information from all of those four members that they leave the church. Three of them are in the ages between 15 and 35 years, which means that these ones are the ones that are on the teenage group gap and also in the young adult uh, age gap. So there's a book called You Lost Me that is also a research about what the youth in our church is living. And the most interesting thing is that they have came with two important statements. Most of them, they have experienced a repressive abuse or repressive abuse. That's how it should be read. So basically, in the church, they haven't felt like open or free to share or to be themselves, and they have felt that they have been repressive or they have been abused also, and also they have experienced exclusiveness. This means that they don't feel part of the church, they don't feel part of the people. A lot of them, they feel that just adults talk between adults and they don't care about like what the young or the youth is going through or what the teen is experiencing. So all this information have impact me, and that's why in this class I've been learning a lot about trauma, and specifically I have been more interested in to talk about religious trauma. But we need to start from the central point of understanding what trauma is. So what is trauma? Well, there's a lot of definitions, but this is one that I really liked because involves a lot of areas, and I want to read it for you. Trauma is a result from exposure to an incident or series of events that are emotionally disturbing or life threatening with lasting adverse effects on the individual's functioning and mental, physical, social, emotional, and or spiritual well-being. So basically what trauma is really have an event or incidents that are emotionally disturbing for life. This means that trauma can be generated by my experience or also uh, when I see the experience of somebody else. And I feel this is a topic why the youth they're like really into this kind of things, but they don't know how it's even called. A lot of the youth that is in my church, they say like, I don't want to go there because they mistreated my friend, because I experienced I don't know, even like some emotional damage in the church. And this is why today I want to focus in this important subject, because we need to address this in our churches. Even though that religious trauma is not focused only in Seventh-day Adventist Church, religious trauma is a term that has come from all the religions. But I'm really sure that in our church, we have also developed this religious trauma. So let me start reading what is religious trauma. Religious trauma refers to psychological damage caused by experience within a religious context. These was are perceived as a harmful, abusive, or traumatic. It can arise from various aspects of religious life, including teachings, practices, authority, the structures, and social dynamics. Individuals who have experienced this trauma might struggle with feelings of guilt, shame, fear, anxiety, or depression as a result of trusting even themselves or also the divine entities. So, something interesting is that what sets aside the religious trauma from other traumas is that these are linked to beliefs and practices, and it goes more deep into the spiritual life. So this type of trauma, I feel that is very complex to navigate, because we're talking about something divine that is out of our control, but also linked with the emotions and the physical pain that we feel. I feel that is very important to recognize this type of trauma, and just to being able to recognize and do something about it. By recognizing and addressing religious trauma, we can better support individuals in their healing journey and create spaces that foster spiritual growth and resilience. So, resilience, sorry. So I'm just um, pronouncing like in Spanish. So basically, religious trauma is a trauma that is generated within a church context. So basically, this is a trauma that is not really like popular, because we think that church it should be a safe space for everybody, right? But sometimes, and I'm just saying this because we're human beings and we're not perfect. And even though in this safe space we have the we have the problems that can lead into generate these types of situations. So I want to start to address and understanding what is a religious trauma or how it's caused. And I want to start with the first one that is called this the religious trauma. It could be because of strict doctrines, specifically religious doctrines. Many religious traditions have rigid doctrines and dogmas that dictate beliefs and behaviors. When adherents deviate from this pressure, can conform or can lead to feelings of inadequacy, guilt, and anxiety. So this means that if I don't do this set of rules, and if I don't accomplish all of these things, I'm not part of these people, or I'm set aside. But this is something that is not even social, because this is something that brings a harder topic. People start to fear for their salvation. So they're just not part of a group. They're missing also the opportunity to be saved, or that's what they think, right? But religious trauma can be caused by these strict doctrines. And I feel that when church puts first doctrines than persons, that's something that is going backwards that what we have learned in church. I'm not saying that we don't have or we should not have doctrines or rules. I feel those ones are a really helpful rules to set us apart from the world. But when those ones hurt people, I feel, or we use those ones, not even those ones hurt people, but when people uses those ones to hurt others, I feel that is a problem. So the second one that I want to go and touch bases is fear-based teachings. So some religions, communities emphasize fear, inducting narratives such as eternal damnation, divine punishment, or apocalyptic scenarios. Constant exposure to these fear-based techniques can instill deep-seated anxiety trauma, especially on individuals who struggle with uncertainty or existential questions. So basically, there's a term that I have come up with that is called the terroristic evangelism. So we put fear in people so the fear triggers their desire to be closer to religion or God. But that is not the motivation that we need to have in order to get closer to religion or God. And do you know there's some stories that tells about people that when they are hearing about the second coming of God, because that is like how Adventists we preach about this, they start to coming to church, they start to read their Bible, they start to do all of these things because they want to be saved, but they are not experiencing a relationship with God. So basically, what happens is when they don't see anything happening, they turn back to their old life. So basically, this kind of this kind of teachings can lead a person into a trauma. So if I don't do this, I'm gonna be condemned, or I'm not gonna be enough. And these teachings are a very hurtful teachings. The third one that I want to talk about is guilt and shame tactics. So religious institutions sometimes employ guilt and shame as tools for behavior and control. Individuals may be made to feel sinful or loathing and repression. This can have a long-lasting psychological effects, manifesting a low self-esteem, depression, or anxiety disorders. There was a time that I was in a church when they were uh, preparing for a new year from a new ecclesiastic year. And I hear clearly that the person that was preaching, he said, like, if you don't accept a nominee, well, there was a nominee committee at that time. If you don't accept, like, to being proposed for one ministry, you are denying the voice of God, and God is gonna punish you. When I heard that in the beginning, I was shocked because I don't feel that God is punish us because we're not participating or we are. That's not the God that I know. And I feel that he was using this technique. And I cannot imagine just having somebody that, let's say there's a person in the church that is like a widow, and she has to work for their kids, and then she has to be mom and dad, and plus she has been nominated in the nominee committee, and she has to say yes, because if not, God is not gonna bless her. You know, I don't think that's the right thing to do, because with the time these people, and I have seen it as a pastor, these people ended up just dropping or just burning out, you know? And that's not healthy neither because that experience is a really negative experience instead of being serving gladly, joyfully, and enjoying every part of the ministry. So I feel that guilt and shame tactics are really high tactics that some religions uses so they can get whatever they want. So the other one that can lead into religious trauma is authoritarian leadership. So religious organizations had led by authoritarian figures may perpetuate abusive dynamics, with leaders wielding unchecked power over their followers. This can result in an emotional manipulation, exploitation, and boundary violations, contributing to trauma among members. So this is something that lately it has been a lot of research, and also like there has been like I don't know, TV series or documentals about these kind of religions that they have like a strong leader and says like God has told me that I need to spend the night with you. You have been chosen, and they use their power to have sexual like sexual intercourse with other persons, or they can have like even with minors, or they can have the houses or the cars that they want. And I feel that that also can lead, or not I feel, I'm sure that also leads into this religious trauma. And the last one is cultural and familiar pressures. In many cases, religious trauma can stem from societal or familiar expectations tied to faith. Individuals may feel coerced into adhering to religious practices or beliefs that conflict with their own values or identities, leading to a profound sense of internal conflict and distress. So I want to mention this because I have known people that has just got married because it was the religious idea or the religious context. It was like in the ideal context, but because they were not matching, their marriage didn't endure how it was supposed to endure. So these pressures, this type of like pressure can cause these religious trauma. So just a recap. So we can get religious trauma because of strict doctrines, fear-based teachings, guilt and shame tactics, authoritarian leadership, and also cultural pressures. And this is one of the results of the religious trauma. We can have emotional damage, physical damage, and cognitive damage. In the emotional impact, we can have guilt and shame because we don't feel that we deserve. And this is the hardest part because this is something that we're talking about divine and human. So that's more complex. So we can have guilt and shame. Religious trauma often involves teachings or experiences that instill deep sense of guilt or shame. Individuals may feel guilty for not living up to the expectations of their faith community, or they are questioning religious teachings. This can lead to a persistent feeling of unworthiness and self blame. And also, this can cause anxiety and depression. Religious trauma can exacerbate anxiety and depression. Fear for the divine, judgment, or rejection of religious community can create constant anxiety. Moreover, the loss of faith or disillusionment with religious belief can trigger feelings of hopelessness, despair, or depression. Also, there's another physical effects like chronic stress. There's people that they can come to church, but they're constantly stressed because this is a resulting can have effects in the like in the physical health. Constant worry, fear, and internal conflict can activate body stress response system. So, in the cognitive impact or damage, self concept is one that is very affected. Religious trauma can deeply influence one's beliefs about themselves. Individuals may internalize negative messages from their religious upbringing, viewing themselves as an inherently sinful, flawed person. So also, they can have a cognitive damage what people think about them. So religious trauma can shape individuals to perceive others, particularly those who adhere to the different beliefs of lifestyles. This may result in a prejudice, judgment, or fear to outsiders, and they can feel inferior to other ones. So this is other thing that can influence every person. So if they don't feel worthy, they're gonna be comparing themselves constantly, and this can have a negative effect. And let me tell you something. For me, um, I think the three of them, they're they're very bad effects, or yeah, they're very bad effects of religious trauma. But for me, the one that could be like the most dangerous could be the physical one. When somebody experiences physical damage because the connection between what they think is not with the religion, I feel that one is into a whole new level. And I feel that we should be aware of these matters because these ones are real. I have experienced a couple of people in my church having these physical effects because of the church. And I feel that the church should be a safe place. That's why I want to share a couple of coping strategies for religious trauma. So, first of all, we need to accept and validate that we're passing through this process. It's not bad, or it's like you're not wrong if you're feeling that you're passing through this. I feel that is pretty normal, but also it's something that is new to me at least, and I feel that is new to this concept is new to a lot of religions too. So the first thing that I feel that is important is to recognize and accept that we're going through this process, but also it's important to seek support. Ask for help is very important, and maybe you're not gonna find the persons that are gonna be open to do it, but you should just look close to your family, to a friend, or even to a professional. Do you know, today we have psychologists and people that is well trained to help us with these matters, because trauma is something important that we need to work on and we need to overcome. So it's important that we can validate these experiences and we can look for help. So we can, besides therapies, we can also look for support groups, or we can also read blogs about this, or look for books that can help us in this situation. Another way to coping with religious trauma is to have self-care practices. These ones are good if we do exercise, if we do meditation, and if we, specifically in religion, I think that one of the most important ones is to connect with God. And we can connect with God in different ways. We can connect through reading scripture, not necessarily in the church, but in a devotional life that can make a huge difference. And the last one, it could be set boundaries. So if you feel that you have been hurt in the church, if you feel that your family is putting a lot of pressure on you, if you feel that you're not accomplishing the set of rules that the church is asking you, or you're being pressured by a leader from the church, it is very important to set boundaries, because those boundaries are going to help you to distance yourself and to guard yourself. So if you're feeling that there's a church that is not helping you, You can just take your space. You can look for another church. If you feel that there's somebody in your church that is hurting you, you can talk to somebody. You can ask for help. You can talk to an elder. Like, there's a lot of different ways to can cope with this one. But the most important for me is to know God. Because this is the thing, religion is here to try to portray God, but sometimes we do a bad job doing that. Do you know? And the only way, so religion is not the end. It's supposed to be the vehicle that transports us and get us closer to God. But also we can do it through praying, reading scripture, and spending time with God, meditating, talking to Him. And I'm very sure that God is going to be open to help us in every situation that we have. So I know that maybe religion have mistreated, but God is there for you because God is not like us and is not like religions. And I just want to share the last idea that I have here. Psalm 34:8 says, taste and see that the Lord is good. So sometimes we have taste and see the religions, but religions are just made by humans. But we need to taste and see what God really is and who really is. And when we know Him, we're gonna be able to be sure that we, even though that we don't feel that we're enough, in Him we're enough. And that He loves us so much that He has restored us. He sent Jesus to die for us. So I feel that the best coping strategy for a religious trauma is to take the time and know personally God. And if you need help with that, you can just get close to people that you feel that they know God and they can help you with that. So for me, this is a very important topic that we should be just talking about. And I just want to thank you for being with me during this time. And I hope that uh, this is something that has been helpful for you because has been helpful for me. So I'm just gonna be praying that if you're passing through this, you can take the time and the courage to do these advices that we have shared here and to recognize that you are going through this. So just ask for help. Um, and also, I just want to mention that this is a topic that we should be talking more in our churches so we can be more aware about these new situations that are happening and to see how, as a church, we can help to restore these people. So, thank you so much.